opening statement or go straight to questions?
You can go straight to questions. That's good.
All right. Let's start with Travis Brown from the Bryan College Station Eagle.
Hey, Coach. I know that.
Can we turn that up? I can barely hear. I can't. I can just hear parts of. I mean, it's just really low.
Better.
Go ahead. See if I can hear you better.
Hey, yeah, just curious.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
There it is. There it is.
Curious if the format of a full kind of game like scrimmage is still going to be on the table for this weekend.
Yeah, we will. We'll probably go 2s and 1s, 1s and 2s on teams in different looks that way. But we'll still play a game. Probably rotate one of the linemen. We got 9 healthy. We'll alternate one of the guys back and forth with the 2s in different positions, which we practice that all the time anyway. Give guys some extra reps, and then the rest of it we'll scrimmage.
I know you said last time we talked to you, people a little banged, a little bumped and bruised. How many people do you feel like will not participate this Saturday?
We'll probably have. I mean, when you're talking about off-season injuries and in-season injuries, I mean, I want to say probably 4. I don't know the exact. I'm gonna say around 14. It would probably be in the 2 deep. 14 or so. I mean, 14 or 16, somewhere in that range. I mean, that's about normal. About normal for guys that weren't in spring or nicked and knack now that didn't. Not that many. About 5 or 6 each way.
Any particular group hit hardest?
Probably the tight ends probably hit the hardest. Wiedemeyer, Blake Smith. Cup practice had some really good practices. We're holding him on this last week, just get back healthy from what he was going through, which we knew when the limit going in. Because some of those guys we limited going into spring. There was a certain number of days we were going to give them and then rest others so we could get some work in. And hopefully Max Wright's he's always been nicked a little bit, but he'll probably be okay by Saturday. But that group probably the most. And of course, offensive line, really, we only got 2 or 3 hurt, but we're going in with 11. So we had 9. We got 9. So because then we signed 7, we'll have 18 in the fall, which is normal.
And then finally, with your quarterbacks, what are you looking for from them in this first spring game from them? And
manage the game, run the show, make the decisions you got to run, and like they have been all day. I mean, all spring. Manage situations, understand it, play good football at the same time, take care of the football, and be smart and be intelligent and aggressive on how they play, and just control the tempo of the game, the momentum of the game. Don't let it overwhelm them. Which I'll be shocked if they do, because I think they've all done a really good job of that. Been very pleased with their performance. I mean, it isn't perfect. We got a long ways to go, but they've done a really good job, in my opinion, of some of the situations and tough situations we put them in spring practice.
All right, next up is Olin Buchanan from TexAgs.com.
Hi, Jimbo. I got a couple of defensive questions for you. First of all, have you seen through this practice anything that indicates to you that maybe y'all can even have a better pass rush next year? And I'm specifically wondering about some of the younger guys like Donnell Harris and some of the guys like that you brought in.
Well, we hope so, and that's a big emphasis that we try to put on in spring is we got to be able to pressure the passer. And pass rush downs, you got to get there. You got to affect the passer, and it's not always just sacks, but can you affect him? Can you hit him? Can you make him move off his spot, reset his feet, relocate, those type things? So I'm sure hoping so, and that's a big objective. What we try to get out of spring, and hopefully it'll carry on the fall.
And just how are y'all using Antonio Johnson? What do you feel like Antonio's safety, nickel?
Both, yes.
Whatever situation with him, and how is he
playing really well? I think he's having a really good spring. I think he is progressing very well, and I think can contribute both places and feel very comfortable with him doing both things. He's a very physical guy. His coverage skills have really improved just from knowledge of where his help is, where his not help is, how to cover, what to do, leverages. And I think he's had a really, really good spring.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jimbo.
Thank you.
Next up is Gabe Bach from TexAgs.
Yeah, Jim, I wanted to ask you about Aniyah Smith. It's year 3 now. At this point, as an upperclassman, how's he coming along in his mastery of everything he needs to do out there? And then where is he growing as a leader? How's his development?
That's the big challenge when you go to be the face of the leadership role, not just a leader, but one of the leaders. And I think he's growing in that regard. He's getting better and better in his routes and understanding and, getting the ball. Probably didn't give him as much running back in this spring camp. We gave him some, not a ton, but that's out of design, and we'll mix it back in the fall. We'll keep doing both, but he's learning to grow. Because listen, when you become one of the leaders, that's a different than being a leader. That's a different burden. It's a different thing to carry, and he's learning how to do that.
Okay, let's go to Mike Lucas from KAGS.
Coach, I know Buddy's heading to the NFL, and that leaves a big leadership void in the linebacker core, but you guys have a lot of young guys I know you've talked about being excited about. So just curious, how is that position group shaping up so far this spring?
Better and better. I mean, Hansford's coming back in that group, but some of the other guys, I mean, Chris Russell, no guys. T. Lee's been a really good. I've been very happy with him in spring. I think he's had an outstanding spring. Theron Lee has really played good. Knowledge of the game, reading things, doing a really good job. White's played a lot, done well, been nicked up here and there. So we'll see where he's at as it goes. But he was playing well. But, you know, T. Lee and those guys have done a really good job of adjusting and making a lot of good plays in spring. And also 45 has done a really good job. He can run, man. Dadgum, can he run? Huh? Oh, yeah, Coop. I'm assuming they know who Coop was. I'm saying that, but Coop can run. He flashes at you, man. He jumps across the screen really fast. When he pulls the pin, man, he pulls it. He can run, he can cover, and the big important thing, he can close ground. I mean, really, really close ground.
When you talk about speed in certain positions, it's obvious, but from a linebacker's perspective, how much does that little extra step of speed make a difference between?
Oh, it's huge. That first step, reading, and then the explosion step. You know, another one, Antonio Dole's doing a good job. Dole's playing at Sam on the ball, doing some of that stuff, and then playing in the middle. He's done a good job of that. But they all, when you know, if you can get the initial read, get that step, and then when you pull that pin, man, at linebacker, you got to pull it. You got to explode. You got to go to where you're going, where your fit is, and how you got to get there. And we're getting better and better at that.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Let's go to John Wilson from KBTX.
Coach, as you guys have worked your way now through almost a full spring, you'll have a spring game with fans in the stands. Does it feel more normal, and does it help as you kind of march towards what will hopefully be a normal fall?
I don't know if I guess you get so caught up in coaching. I don't know if anything does feel normal. I mean, we're just doing our job the way we do it. I mean, hopefully it is getting back to normal. It'd be great to see people in the stands on Saturday and where we're at. But I guess you get so engrossed in what you're doing as a coach, sometimes you forget about all that. At least I do at times. I really do. And because you see all the issues in which you got to have 15 practices to get there. At least, you know, you're not trying to fix them right now. You're just trying to get solutions and give guys the ability and the tools to be able to fix those problems and address them getting better. So I know from that standpoint, for me, I haven't noticed it any different. To me, it's just practice because you come right out of it. But I think probably when you see the stand Saturday, I think that'll be the first time you really feel it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Brian Peroni from Gig'em 247.
Hey, Coach. I just wanted to ask you about a guy that isn't on the spring roster, but I'm just curious about the progress of Kenneth Phillips. Is he still, I guess, on pace to be around in the fall?
Well, we'll see.
What kind of role do you see him playing?
Well, I don't know. We got to do his health and what goes on there first. We have to make sure he's approved to be on the field, and he's still recovering from the injuries he had.
So is there a chance that, it might be career ending?
Yes. I mean, any injury can be this. Yes.
Okay. But he's not cleared yet.
No.
All right.
Okay, let's go to Brent Zwerman from the Houston Chronicle.
Jimbo, what's your opinion on this new legislation that's pending, I guess, in terms of reducing fall camps? I think it said something like 21 to 8 full-on practices. Your thoughts on that? And also, could that potentially lead to more injuries during a season because of that reduction?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, right now we're hearing you get 8 shells, 8 padded. Difference. We go padded. The only time we ever tackle is the 2 scrimmages. We never hit the ground. And unless it's an accident. I mean, guys may tangle up, but we don't go to the ground except for the 2 scrimmages ever. And even in spring, we never do that. I mean, that's kind of normal. Your shells kind of be in those practices, but you got 9 helmets practice. That's a big advancement from the other padded practices you had. So player development, I think for big guys and things like that will be very challenging because it's hard to develop the guys in the front sevens on both sides when you're not, doing those kind of things. So we'll. I mean, it could lead that, or it could not lead to. I mean, they're the medical experts. We just have to go by the rules in which they have, and we'll have to adjust our practices accordingly, and try to make sure in player development we're able to get out of what we need to in that regard. Try to, we gotta have to be not creative, but very have to maximize your time when you are allowed to hit and do things and still do it safely, so you're not trying to injure the guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we got a couple more questions on the queue. We'll go to Chuck Carlton from the Dallas Morning News.
Yeah, Jimbo. I'm just curious, you still have, the spring game. You're not totally through with the spring practice, but have you seen the things you want to see and maybe had any questions or concerns answered positively so far? Or where do you stand in terms of, I guess, evaluating where the team is right now?
Well, I think about normal where you are in the spring. You never get everything you need to see in spring. One, you don't have enough practices, and two, you don't have your whole team here. So your numbers, and you're not participating with guys who have surgeries at the end of the season, who'll be on the field, how that chemistry works, all those types of things. You never see it. What you try to do in spring is just create the scenarios and evaluate the people so you can make decisions over the summer for fall camp, where you put them, how you put them, where they fit. And then you still got to experiment because you still got new guys coming in. And then plus you're still going to have to see how guys come back from surgeries, come back from things that are not in there right now, or that have, limited participation and developing your depth. So that's always never a question that you're fully have an answer to. But at the same time, you can at least tweak and turn and get guys in place to give you an idea where you think you want to start when fall camp comes. Because listen, that's one thing about a football team. You're always tweaking, turning, experimenting, or making changes. Things are never going to be concrete. And then you're going to have the adversity of whether a guy's injured, whether this happens, whether that happens. I mean, there's so many things. And what you're trying to do is provide enough possible options for you as a coach to be able to solve multitudes of problems. And you have to, sometimes I create problems in my head. If that happened, there's nothing here, but if that did, what would my answer be? And I think that's almost sometimes a never ending quest. You end up chasing your tail all the time, but it's something you have to do as a coach.
And I guess just as a follow-up, obviously no spring practice last year, but comparing this to your first two, are you guys further along at this point than you were in those?
Well, I mean, whether you say further along, maybe in your culture of how you do things, but you're replacing the whole offensive line. You're replacing a new quarterback, replacing, just a few guys on defense, which is good. And you're also asking a new group of guys on offense, like here, the pressure's on the receivers, the running backs, and tight ends. That's the experience. They've got to play flawlessly so the other guys can work their way into playing. And that's still a challenge. They're not doing, I'm just saying that's always a challenge going in. So with those positions and what they do and how they do it. So, and on defensively, can we make up some of the forces inside, still play the run? We got to play better. We got to play better pass defense, and we got to rush the quarterback better. And then we got to a few things on the special teams to improve on. I think we made some really good jumps last year and how we did things, got back to where we were the first year. And our kickers, punters, and snappers doing a good job. So, we still got a lot of work to do.
All right, let's go to Sam Khan from The Athletic, and then we have a follow-up from Gabe.
Hey, Jimbo, last week during the announcement of the ending of the dead period, one thing that I noticed was the waiver for on-campus evaluations on unofficial visits. I'm curious, does that change anything for you guys, or how do you guys envision that working?
You're talking about the tryouts? Is that what you were talking about?
Right. Yeah.
The ability, the ability for a guy to come and you can work him out. Yeah. I mean, that's a new thing that matter of fact, we've been in talks with over the last week or two. Haven't put as much in it because we'll wait till spring ball's over. Then the next month we'll evaluate how we want to do it, what's going to happen, and how it's going to happen. And we're getting on. We just finally got all the rules just the other day. So we'll make that we'll start that next week. But it will be a new piece of the puzzle that you're able to do that. So it does help you.
And also, kind of back to along the lines of what Brent was asking about adjustments to camp, I think one of the things that they added last year was this OTA style ramp up, before the season last year. Would that be something you would be interested in having down the road?
I thought last year's whole schedule was perfect. I really do. I think I'm for that, but it's not what's going to happen. That's not what's going to happen this year. Now, I'm not against, I mean, it is what it is, but I'm just saying, I thought that was for the players, you had contact 4 days a week, but they were off 3 days a week, or 2 of those were meeting days where they could comprehend what they did the day before, look at installation the next day, not have the pressure of practice that day, could really absorb it and then move on. And I think that's a big piece of it too, but we're going back to, we got the way we have it now. And, those, even though you're still going to have your number of padded practices are down, but at the same time, those days that you meet, you have to go practice. So that's going to limit meeting time in that regard, because those are still practice days. You cannot just meet. You have to get something done on the field. So, but hey, that is what it is. And it's ever-changing rules, and everybody's got the same rules, so we'll all adjust.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Gabe Bach from TexAgs.com.
Yeah, Jimbo, Damani Richardson at safety last year had to deal with a lot. He missed a couple games with the protocol stuff, and he played hurt. You informed us of that after the season, but we didn't know about it. But with him, if he's 100% healthy, what are your expectations for him on the back end?
I mean, you're talking about a guy has a lot of experience, a lot of ability, a lot of leadership, and hopefully a guy that plays at a dominant safety position that can do a multitude of things and be a leader on our football team. I think that's got to be expected and demanded from him, and from that regard.
All right, well, that's all the questions we have for you, Coach.
Thank you. You have a great day.
All right. Thanks, everybody.